good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 23rd of February, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Moton Noah. It's a special episode. I don't know if this is by chance the first time you've ever tuned into an episode of The Coping Hour, but this is not your average episode. This is the 30th episode. As they say in show business, it's not a real show until you hit 30 episodes. Some of that goes into, like, you know, if you can record your 30th episode, if you're on the air for 30 episodes, you know, between episode 1, the pilot, and the most recent one, the 30th, you can really see your growth. I would also say, especially in 2024, you know, with people just sort of manically deciding, like, I'm going to start a podcast. And then after, 7 episodes, they realize that they don't have anything to talk about anymore. They don't have it. They've told all of their anecdotes are out there already. And then they're just kind of rehashing the same shit after like 12 episodes. And then they punt. It's not nothing to get 30 episodes in the can. I've been waiting for this for a really long time. And I know some of you have too. There's been like some, oh, Nick, you only got 4 more to go. You only got 3 more to go. We made it. I'm excited, and this is not going to be your average episode. There's a chance this is the best episode. There's a chance it's the worst episode, because we're going to be following a new format, I think exclusively for this episode. What we're going to be doing, instead of like a, up top we do 7.5 minutes, and then after that there's a 10.5 minute segment, and then after that there's a 13-minute segment, and then after that it's 6 minutes. We're doing the full hour. We're doing all of it, uninterrupted, to the best of my ability. I want to see if over the last, 30 episodes, over, 30 hours, essentially, of recording the show, if I've learned anything, if I can go, like, full radio, if I've really honed my craft in a way that I can speak for 60 minutes uninterrupted. Now, this comes with a few things. One, I don't even know if, like, the camera will allow me to record for that long. So if there is like a random cut, it's just because the camera was like, hey, the file's too big, like you need to start a different thing. So that doesn't count as a cut. I was also thinking about doing, well, hold on, let me stay with what I was going to say. It also means that, hey, it's live, anything can happen. That means, hey, if someone tries to buzz in, Amazon tries to buzz into the apartment, I gotta go let them in. I'm not stopping the recording, I'm not cutting it either. We're doing it live, you know what I mean? I already forgot the other thing that I was trying to say. Hey, are you excited? I'm really excited. Let's get into today's show. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I was thinking about doing, if I have to cut more than twice, I was going to do one of those, whatever the most liked comment is, that's like what my punishment's going to be. I'm not doing that. Because anytime that happens, you know what people like to do? The most liked comment will be, I have to do this thing. And then they're like, you have to get like a Brazilian citizenship, get on a plane, go down there, train for 3 years in like mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu or something, and then like climb the ladder and become the world's greatest fucking fighter. Can we be fucking for real? Can we do something that I can actually do? Like if you guys were like, shotgun a beer, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I do something like that, but you guys I know you guys, I don't trust you guys, and I'm not going to do whatever you guys want me to do. I also would argue I'm not going to cut, and then that's not going to be an issue, and we're just going to talk continuously for an hour, because believe it or not, I actually have notes. I actually wrote stuff down for this episode. I don't know if it can carry me for an hour, but I think it can. It's essentially going to be 60 minutes of things I saw this week. Because that Monday through Friday, dead period where I'm not recording anything and I'm just kind of aggregating a bunch of news and being like, okay, do I have 5 minutes on this? Do I have 7 minutes on this? Ultimately, I think if I don't have 5 minutes on something, it kind of just falls to the wayside. It may come up in some other way. Like Navaly getting killed. I just wish I had more to say. It sucks. I mean, it sucks. Dude getting baked in like a Siberian prison sucks. Or was it? I'm confused because where Siberia is, I don't understand how that's the Arctic Circle. All the geography of that is really confusing to me. But Russia being like, yeah, sudden death syndrome, like the dude just popped. I also read something where he was like out on a walk and he just kind of died. And I'm like, did they shoot him in the back of the head and call it lead poisoning? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck just happened? But I'm also confused because if he was just like out on a walk, I don't know if you guys know, the jail that he was in didn't even allow the prisoners to get mail. But this guy had, like, rec time? Like, he could go on a walk? Huh? If that's not true, then, like, whatever. I'm also confused. Why now? Why now? You've tried to kill this guy, however many times in the past. You've put, like, poison in his underwear when he's, like, in the airport. Why now? What was the thing? Was, like, the Tucker Carlson interview, did it put so much pressure on Moscow that, like, that Putin gave time to a Western journalist and that made him look weak? Or like, why did this happen? Because there was also that Russian defector who just got assassinated in Spain. Did you see this? You hear about that? We're supposed to be talking about. I was supposed to lead with the JJ Redick, Doc Rivers stuff, and I'm talking about fucking Navaly. But it's interesting. Like, why now? Why did this happen now? I would love to know. And then his mom is like, yeah, I've seen the body, but, Russian officials are like, if you don't let us bury him in secret, we're just going to let his body, like, rot. Like, which makes sense, because if protesters are being arrested all across Russia for, like, I don't know, mourning this guy literally at all, you put flowers on some, like, made up, sort of a memoriam, jail immediately. Like Fred Armisen in Parks and Rec, jail. Believe it or not, jail immediately. It would make sense that they don't want him to have, like, an officially marked grave, because he was already a martyr. So if people are just going to kind of flock to wherever that grave is, it quote unquote makes sense that Russia wouldn't want anybody to have anything to do with this guy, right? But rest in peace. That sucked. A real, like, I woke up and they were like, yeah, straight up, Navalny baked, dead in jail. And I was just like, huh? Like, what? Like, damn, they finally got him. Damn. All right, let's talk about some actual basketball today. Do you see this? You hear about this? JJ Redick is at it again. Can I ask you guys a question? I say this as a guy who likes JJ Redick. When did we decide that we like him? Like, what happened? Because him being at Duke was very much of my time. Like, I was alive when he was at Duke and everybody hated him, but I was too young and it wasn't really on my radar. Like, I wasn't alive for Christian Laettner, so, like, that doesn't matter to me. But of my lifetime, technically, JJ Redick would have been the first, like, quintessential Duke guy that everybody hated. But my real introduction to him wasn't even Orlando, because I was only like 10 and I still, like, that was kind of, the Pistons were on their way out a little bit. We were just a couple years away from doing the Chauncey for AI trade, and I cared more about the Tigers and the Red Wings at the time. Hell, even the Lions, even though they were going 0-16. The Pistons juice just wasn't really there for me, so I wasn't watching a ton of NBA in like 2009 when JJ was in Orlando. So it was like the Lob City Clippers, which is ironic because that's kind of what we're going into today. Doc Rivers has been saying some outlandish shit recently. I'll get back to that. Why do we like JJ Redick point? I'll get back to that in a second. Let me set the stage. Doc Rivers has been on like a generational run of not really lying, sometimes lying, but just saying crazy things. Like, hey, did you know that I was the one who was like, hey, I don't know. I don't know if you should trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, this cat's going to be nice. This guy can really ball. And I guess Ballmer was like, cool story. Like, that's cool. But I want Paul George. Like, all right. Well, I guess he was talking to Kawhi about it. Whatever. I digress, right? Weird thing to say. And then he's like on Sirius XM, and he's like, I was talking to Milwaukee. I was talking to, I almost said David Grush. What the fuck is this is going to make me so mad. This is going to make me, John Horst. David Grush, what the fuck? I was talking to John Horst on the phone the other day. And he's like, I want to offer you this Milwaukee Bucks position. And straight up, Doc Rivers was like, why? You're going to fire Adrian Griffin? Like, why are you doing this? What people are, like, what's getting lost in the mix, and what I don't understand, yes, that's an insane thing in and of itself to say when somebody's trying to offer you a job. Do people forget that, like, a month prior to that happening, Doc Rivers was on the payroll as a consultant for Milwaukee? So him being like, I have no idea why this is happening, dog. Were you not on the phone? Like, were you not part of those conversations? Were you not privy to some of that information that none of us knew at the time? Like, what do you mean you didn't understand why this was happening? And then as soon as Milwaukee offers him the job, he's like, well, I don't have shit else going on. This broadcasting thing isn't really working out. Nobody really likes to hear my voice on a game. With all due respect, I would agree with that. I would say that that's true. And so he's saying a bunch of insane shit, and then JJ Redick is like, it's always something with this guy. It's always excuses. I'm leaving out the part where he's like, damn, being a coach is hard. And like, here's all the reasons why I've lost playoff series in the past. And JJ Redick is like, it's actually because you're bitch made. That's actually why. And I think we all really appreciated that from JJ Redick, because at the end of the day, that motherfucker does one thing really, really well. He keeps it real. Right? But when keeping it real goes wrong, you end up in situations like this. Because Pat Bev comes out and he's like, oh, JJ Redick, like, are you bitch made? ? And I think people are going maybe a little bit too hard on Patrick Beverley in this instance. I don't think enough people consume his media. I don't think enough people consume his podcast. Really, all Pat Bev is doing in this situation when he's like, don't make fun of Doc Rivers. Well, Doc Rivers is his coach now. He's been his coach in the past. This isn't his first rodeo with Doc Rivers, you know? He's just defending his guy. That's just the type of dude that Patrick Beverley is. So I think even though he's said shit to JJ that is just wrong, and even as a guy who is like, I like Pat Bev more than I like JJ Redick, he's just said stuff that's just not right. It's just not true. In an attempt to try to defend his guy, Doc Rivers, because, again, he's his coach. What is he supposed to do? He could say nothing. That's true. He could say nothing. But I guess I'm just a little bit confused here. Because of all of this shit that JJ Redick is saying, he then, and it's completely unrelated, but he goes on to talk about, like, why is it my job to educate the fans? Like, why is it my job to sit up here and, like, if I put out a video talking about, like, the X's and O's of, like, Jeremy Sohan's fucking step through or his ability to set a highway screen, you know, that'll only get 40,000 views. But as soon as I fire off some shit about Doc Rivers or, like, whatever nonsense, whatever drama, right, it's 250,000 in the can. Like, why is that? He's like, I'm not even entirely convinced that you people care about basketball. Welcome to the fucking show, JJ Redick. Most of us don't. Most of us don't on the level that you do. And that's what makes you who you are. I don't know, and this doesn't really apply. I think my least favorite thing about, like, NBA Reddit is how commonplace it is to be like, we don't watch the games. Like, the fuck? Even though I understand that that's usually said in jest, it's usually said in some sort of a shitpost fashion, like, well, we don't watch the games around here. In a lot of ways, it's true, though. It's hands down the most casually consumed sport that we have in America. Most of these fuckers just want to play 2K. Most of these guys just want to, like, react to highlights on YouTube, right? And there is a lot that you lose by just doing those things, especially when you just play 2K. Like, if you only played 2K, you would think that, like, if it was 2016 and you were only playing 2K, you would think that, like, Luke Babbitt is the fucking greatest three-point shooter of all time. The dude hasn't been in the league for, like, 6 years. You know what I mean? And I'm confused because, yeah, JJ, actually that is your job. That is your job as the former player to educate us as the fan, motherfucker, that's why you're on TV, is to provide us with the perspective that even the smartest analysts in the world, even the Zach Lowe's of the world, cannot provide us with, right? Is because you're the former player. That's why you're on TV. That responsibility does fall on you, right? But instead, what we've gotten in recent years from former players either being on air, on television, you know, whether it's in-game or out-of-game, or at seemingly every turn starting their own fucking podcast, a territory in which, by the way, I do feel infringed upon, because, like, fuckers, you guys are super talented and you just can't be in one lane. You gotta come into my shit. I can't hoop, but I can talk into a goddamn microphone. And now you're like, well, I can talk into a microphone too. A lot of these guys can't, by the way. But instead, what we've gotten is, instead of, you know, these like insightful arguments or these you know, communicating certain nuances of the sport that otherwise fans wouldn't get, these former players are just like carrying the water for the new guys. And it's fucking annoying. It's fucking, it comes off as bitter. It comes off as lame. That's just all it feels like anymore. So yes, JJ, that responsibility does fall on you, actually. And I'm sorry that I'm sorry your views aren't up. I don't know. Maybe work with somebody to make more SEO friendly content. I don't know. Like, what? Like, huh? I don't know. That's all I got on that. Let's move on to the next subject. You see this? You hear about this? LeBron James 50-50, reportedly, 50-50 on whether or not he wants a farewell tour. I'm not really a betting man anymore. I kind of retired that. I gave up on that. Well, I know which 50 I'd put money on. Of course he's going to have a goddamn farewell tour. Are you insane? Of the last 20 years, you know who the biggest egomaniacs in basketball across the board have been? LeBron James, Coach K. Coach K's definitely up there. Trying to think of one off the top of my head, but it's probably just those two are like the 1A and the 1B. Like Coach K, Duke would go on like a 3-game losing streak, and then all of a sudden Coach K is of poor health. Whether it's like physically he's like sick, or he's like, oh, my back, like fuck, my back issues are really starting to flare up again. And then he would leave, and then those losses, they start to not count against his record. And then as soon as they turn it around, Coach K is like, I'm feeling a little better. He's like getting out of bed somewhere. I'm feeling a little bit better. I think I could go out there. And then Duke would just like win a national championship. Although even that didn't happen that much in the last 20 years. Well, no, Jahlil Okafor won a championship. How crazy is that? It's no disrespect to Jahlil Okafor. Like if you were around when Jahlil Okafor was at Duke, I mean at this point, what was that? Like almost 10 years ago? It was 8-9 years ago. He was good. He was good. He was huge. You couldn't stop him. Was it Trey? Who was first? Was it Trey or Tyus? That was Tyus that was with him, right? It was like, I think it was Jahlil, Tyus, and then like Justice Winslow. Wasn't he there too? Sheesh, if that's true. What a squad that would have been. Is LeBron James going to have a farewell tour? I don't fucking know. What do you think he's going to do? You don't think, like, him even suggesting that he would like not go out with a bang, but a whimper, and just kind of quietly go into that night. How does that quote go? Don't go into that. Someone will inform me. Of course he's going to. You cannot have one of, if not the greatest player of all time, just kind of decide to hang it up. First of all, that would kind of be a disaster for the league. Kind of. Because we already know that LeBron wants to get into ownership in some form as soon as he's out of the league. Do you understand the cash cow that you're going to turn the NBA into if we have a full 82-game season of you saying goodbye? Every single game is going to be like must watch. Even the ones, and it's not going to be in LA. I don't know where he's going to retire, but it won't be Los Angeles. I think we're all kind of there on that, right? Here's a question, just to pivot for a second. You guys remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the LeBron and Golden State rumors, how we were like, huh? Like that almost happened? Like not almost happened, but like there at least was a conversation that it could. And we were all like, even that is crazy. Even that is insane. You have to, but you know there's a part of LeBron's brain that's like, as soon as he gets traded, the fuel, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, it still exists. The fuel for Jordan stands out there to be like, well, Jordan never got traded. Discussion over. You know that matters. Narratively, it matters. Like it just does. But when we were talking about that, I had made a comment. I was like, hey, don't let me forget to do my Anthony Davis spiel. And then I inexplicably forgot to do it as I knew I would. All I wanted to say was, how do you guys think we're going to remember him in the greater Laker pantheon? Because I just feel like we're not. With all due respect to Anthony Davis and what he has done to the game of basketball, which I don't know, it's not that but he's been good. And I'm not saying he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame, because he will. Because the Basketball Hall of Fame sucks. Probably the worst Hall of Fame in the world. Like, it's the most like, oh, this guy got in? Oh, okay. You kind of forget that he never won a Defensive Player of the Year. I think he won one did he win one at Kentucky? I think he might have. But because of all of the shit that he did at Kentucky, plus like, hey man, he's gotten accolades in the NBA, right? And he's a champion. This guy who played with LeBron James. This guy who played for the Lakers. He's gonna get into the Hall. But when we talk about like dudes who have played at that position, even in the last 25 years for the Lakers, where are you putting Anthony Davis? I don't know. I'm not saying these guys are better. I'm saying people care about them and will remember them more. Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, Meta? Not really the same position, but I guess at this point I'm just rattling off guys. I just wonder, because it's weird with Anthony Davis, because when you get it out of him, he's a defensive world eater. Right? There are moments where it's like, I don't know how you're even supposed to score on this guy, because when he's on, he's on. But I just mean, like, have Laker fans really loved him like that? Would it have been better for, like, narratively, for his career to just not go there? Because we can be honest. This is a safe space. It's the coping hour. It's a safe space. You can, you get whatever takes you want off in here. Have you ever loved Anthony Davis like that? And if he did, it was because he was in New Orleans, right? And it was endearing that he was in this smaller market and he was like trying to, hey man, I remember when he gave the Pistons like 60 at the Palace. I remember that. Didn't feel great. I remember when he was on the cover of 2K. Was that the year that they had 3 guys? And there was like a Steph cover, there was an Anthony Davis cover, and then maybe it was like a Harden cover. I don't remember who the third guy was. I got the Steph cover because I was not a sicko. Of course, I was going to get the Steph cover. Are you insane? I don't think people know that about me, honestly. I don't think people know this about me. If you've been around for like a long time, you would know this about me. I just don't talk about this anymore because it's just not worth it. Steph, I'm pivoting. Bye, Anthony Davis. We're done talking about you. Bye. When Steph was at Davidson, I was 10. It was 2009, right, that he had that run in March Madness. I was about to turn 11, but I was still 10. I didn't know anything about him. I couldn't have told you where Davidson was. But I knew wherever he goes, I'm going there too. Right? So when he got drafted by Golden State, guess what? I didn't fucking know where Golden State was. I was learning geography in like my 5th grade, 6th grade classes. I was like, what the fuck is Golden State? I haven't heard of this place yet. Come to find out it's California. And then the first few years, he's kind of in and out of it. I will never forget this. This is not a Victory Lap podcast. Going into my sophomore year of high school, 2014, 2015. Is that what it would have been? Yeah, it would have been. That's when he won the MVP, right? They won a championship. Dog, I was going to school every day before the season started saying, it's happening this year. He's winning MVP, and he's winning a championship. And then the long and short of it is, that is exactly what happened. I have been there with Steph from the beginning, and I feel great about it. Literally just because as a kid, I was watching March Madness and was like, I love this kid. Like, he's small. I'm small. He's just like me. Like, he's really good. Also, it helped, kind of bearing the lead, it helped that Draymond got drafted there. As a Michigan State fan, I was like, oh, cool. Now I have like a double reason to watch Golden State. And I'll never forget, it was like 2013. And they played 13 or 14, and they played a Christmas Day game against the Clippers, and like they were just getting in fights. Draymond was just getting in fights with everybody. I think that will be forgotten by the history books a little bit, is how kind of vicious those rivalries were between the Clippers and the Warriors. You just don't really get it as much anymore. Like, they hated each other back then because it was the rise of the Warriors as we began to know them, and sort of the end of the Lob City Clippers, a team that was also just always like a year away from getting over the hump. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe Doc Rivers, I don't know. Although you kind of, now that we can look back and Blake Griffin's career it's over, right? DeAndre Jordan's career, it's over. Jamal Crawford's been out of the league for how long now? JJ's in broadcasting now. Chris Paul's still in the league, but like, it's not over, but like, it's over, right? It's over. We can now look back at all of their careers and look at Lob City as like a, wow. How much sense does it really make that it never worked when you had the perfect storm of guys who just couldn't get it done? That'll always suck. That'll never feel good. Here's something about the Lakers, too, that maybe I should have mentioned this. We've talked a little bit in the last few weeks about Klay. And I really envy Steph's ability to sneaky put pressure on management to retain Klay and to make sure that the band doesn't break up. But it's over, right? You want to just in the, I'm just bringing this up just on the topic of things that are quote unquote over. Like, it's not a Klay Thompson is over party, but he's going to the Lakers. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know if maybe the LeBron thing ends up kind of circling back around. And Klay is like, oh, my dad played for the Lakers. Like, it would be cool to do that. Or if it's just through virtue of he's a free agent. The Warriors don't want to pay him. The Lakers are like, we don't have shit else going on. Like, we'll pay you. LeBron's going to leave. Anthony Davis. I do think they're going to keep Anthony Davis for as long as they can because they're the Lakers. And they got to have somebody, right? They got to have a guy. But when that band breaks up, it is going to hurt. And it really will turn into, I'm trying to think of guys. Like, you think of, I don't know, T-Mac in a Pistons jersey, Scottie Pippen in a Blazers jersey, Hakeem in, like, a Raptors jersey. Klay Thompson in a Lakers jersey, I think on the surface, and maybe in the future will be that, depending on how many years he ends up playing for them. Because I don't know where he's going, but it's over. It's just over. I don't care that Steph has been like, no, it's not over. It's probably over. I don't know. Like, there are nights when, I don't know. But, like, meh. With Draymond, there's some nights when you're like, oh, yeah, he's still got it. And then there are some nights where you're like, oh, he really just wants to get to the TV part of his career. I mean, Wiggins gave up. At least Pajemski is like, he's nice. And super aggro. I guess he was like talking shit to Draymond in practice. He was like, you need to stop being fucking Draymond Green for like 5 minutes. Like, if you turn the ball over like that in a game, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. And Draymond was like, okay, Rook. I see you, Rook. What else do I got here? Can I talk about something that happened at All-Star Weekend? In the last episode, I was like, hey, I'm going to talk about something that happened at All-Star Weekend that nobody's talking about. Can I talk about something that happened at All-Star Weekend that nobody's talking about? Have I missed this in the past? Or was this the first year that they did the NBA Tech Conference? The fuck is that? What is that? That literally feels like the episode of Succession where they created Living Plus, which was like a senior living situation. Living, how am I supposed to phrase this? What is it? A senior, like an adult care facility, right? That's what they did. But they proposed it as if it was like they wanted to get a tech evaluation out of it. So that way it would, because tech evaluations are always super bloated because it's like based on potential or some bullshit. And like, well, we don't know what we could do with this technology, but the possibilities are limitless. And so you always get valued at a way higher number that's like blown out of proportion. Is the NBA pivoting to tech? What the fuck is this all about? Because when you wheel out Adam Silver and Victor Wembanyama and you're like, here's NBAI, which is like an NBA AI interface that I don't think they explained very well, because it's basically like you put on like a headset and you're like, you just say to it like, I wish that the NBA was like Spider-Man, and then it'll like broadcast an NBA game, but like fuck with the visuals. It's like AR, I guess. And it'll like look like it's Spider-Man. When JJ Redick says that people don't care about basketball, it's because you're doing shit like this. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there. By the way. Because a motherfucker is not watching basketball, Spider-Man basketball, because he cares about like a hammer play or a fucking highway screen. He's not. I don't know what that is. And then Wilson comes out and they're like, hey, we have this 3D printed ball. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? You're like, oh. And they're like, yeah, it's super light. Bunch of holes in it. I think my problem with the ball is that it doesn't make noise. Like, it does a little bit, but it doesn't make the noise that you're used to in a basketball. And I didn't think I realized how much that's part of the experience, is actually physically hearing the ball dribble. Because when it's like just kind of like a pop, 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 like it's quiet, right? I don't think I realized how much I need that and how much it adds to like my experience when I hoop. I think this is the last basketball thing I got. And then we'll move on to some other stuff. Tyrese Haliburton decided to rain on our parades. You seen this? You hear about this? Tyrese Haliburton decided to rehash a story that we as Pistons fans have had to hear like 10 fucking times. That he didn't get drafted by Detroit and everybody thought that he was going to get drafted by Detroit. Name a more iconic duo between an NBA team and doing like weird revisionist shit over a guy that they should have drafted. Pistons fans are lying through their teeth if they're going to sit here and tell you, I wanted Tyrese Haliburton. If you go to the comments, I swear to God, and say, oh, I was actually one of the people who wanted Tyrese Haliburton, I'm deleting the comment. I am the arbiter of truth in this situation. Your comment will get deleted. I don't care if you're being ironic. If you're being ironic, I'm going to block you from the channel altogether. Shut the fuck up. Because that's not to say, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. That is not to say that people did not exist that wanted Tyrese Haliburton at the time. They did. They totally did. I was writing for Piston Powered at the time. I was writing articles saying, like, we might want to do this. It might be a good idea. Because he popped, man. He popped on tape, but people hated the jumper. We can be honest about it. People hated the jumper. They still do. And it goes in more often than not. But to sit here and act like the pick at the time was anybody other than Killian Hayes is disingenuous. You're lying to yourselves. We were all on board with it. We wanted the French Revolution the same way the following year. I mean, once we drafted Sekou, I mean, I don't know that anybody was that excited about it, but it was that we had two French guys that was really fun. And obviously, it didn't end up working with Killian. Not only is he not on the Pistons, he's not on an NBA roster. Nobody's picked him up. Tyrese Haliburton is over here trying to, like, moonwalk his way to, like, a $50 million bonus. Participating in, like, every All-Star event that he possibly can. All right. Good for Tyrese Haliburton. He's awesome. He's great. But you know what doesn't feel great? Is seeing how much it upset him. And then hearing he and the interviewer and then, like, everybody in the room, like, laughing at how much the Pistons suck. That didn't feel great at all. That did not feel great. I mean, dog, for full transparency, I would be doing the same thing if we were talking about, like, the Wizards. Or if it was the Pistons situation and just, like, you know, again, not my team. Yeah, it would be hilarious, and I would be, like, laughing too. It just so happens to be my team, so I take it very, it's very deeply personal to me. And it bothers me, and I don't want to fucking hear about it. Whereas I can look at the Wizards right now and say, like, wow, Jordan Poole got benched. That might be the funniest thing that's happened this season. Not, like, properly benched that he's not in the games, but he's coming off of the bench. I don't know if there's a player that's easier to root against in the league, honestly. I'd rather root for Draymond. Well, but I'm also, again, I'm a Michigan State fan. I'm biased, even though I can say that I'm tired of Draymond's antics. At the end of the day, he's a Spartan dog for life. So I'm just kind of like, that's Draymond, you know. He's just one of those guys that, you know, when the Warriors documentary comes out in 15 years, although with how they produce documentaries nowadays, it's going to be like way too rushed. And I think they did The Last Dance at the perfect time because we were an entire generation removed from it. There was an entire generation of people who hadn't lived through it, but were old enough to, like, be curious about it. They waited, 20 years for it to come out. I think that was perfect. The Warriors doc is going to come out way too soon, and it's going to suck. But when it does come out, people are going to do revisionist shit on Draymond and be like, no, man, like, everybody, like, he was just he was a dog. He was a fighter. Like, you either loved him or you hated him, but, like, it was really hard to hate him. It's like, no. Actually, it wasn't for most people. It was not that hard. Why did I bring this up? Where was I going with this? Here's something else, actually. Pistons Reddit is, like, really convinced that Monty Williams is trying to throw games. And that there is no possible way that Evan Fournier would be getting minutes over Marcus Sasser. A sentiment, by the way, that I agree. Like, something weird is going on. My question is this. We can talk about how bad the Pistons... Oh, I was doing a whole spiel on Jordan Poole. Let me just stay on the Pistons thing. Jordan Poole sucks. He shouldn't be in the league. I don't know if he's going to... By the time this contract is up, I don't know if he's going to be in the league. He sucks. He sucks. He's a bad loser. He's a bad winner. He's a loser. I'm so fucking sick of him. I'm sorry, Wizards fans. I'm fucking tired of him. My legacy is secured. Fucking cool. Retire then. Go to fucking Germany. Play basketball over there. Go to China. but like, fuck off. Thank God he's on the worst team. Well, not the worst team in the league. Although, they're not that far behind, by the way. Kyle Kuzma's, don't lose to this team. And then what happened? But then, Kyle Kuzma, what happened after that? Just talk about what happened after that. Anyways, Pistons fans are talking about, like, is Monty Williams purposely losing games? I don't know, but sometimes it definitely feels like it. And this is what I want to say. Can we give credit to the players for somehow staying completely silent about this? Something very clearly is, like, fucking wrong. And I don't know. I mean, hey, Jaden and Cade have definitely been some, like, subliminal, ever since Killian's been gone. We've heard that, like, the locker room on certain nights has been, like, as high energy as it's been in, like, a year. And that some of these dudes are just happy to kind of have a new opportunity. But I do think I'm excited to see what ends up happening. First of all, if you end up fucking firing him, I don't care, because coaching salaries don't count against the cap. So, like, who cares? Monty is still going to get paid. And it would give Tom Gores a reason to give a little bit of a shit. Because even if at the end of the day, for a billionaire, the like 60 to 80 million that Monty Williams is owed, however much the contract is worth, I think it's like 60 something, right? Is like pennies on the dollar to Tom Gores. At least he would have to eat it. And at least he would have to be like, damn, I'm a dumbass. I've seen people, you guys have emailed me and like tagged me and shit where you're like, oh, Kevin Ollie, he's the Nets coach. Like, are you mad about this? I don't care at all that Kevin Ollie is the Nets coach. Oh my God, I did not want him in the first place. I did not want him in the first place. And this is something I'm scared of. You want to talk about Pistons fans being revisionist. I don't even need to make this point because honestly, like, what am I really trying to say? There will be a time when people lie and say that Monty Williams getting hired wasn't like, that it didn't feel like it was the best thing to happen to us in like a decade. Outside of getting the number 1 pick and drafting Cade, dog, it felt like it was going to happen. It felt like this was a team that was being for real. It felt like this was a team that was serious. It felt like a moment where Tom Gores was like, it's time to do this thing. It's Monty fucking Williams, dog. I know how we felt about him in these last 6 months, but the allure of the unknown and a guy who had just coached a really good Suns team for a few years to an NBA Finals where they went up 2-0, and then Milwaukee rattled off 4 straight wins. But I digress. A good coach nonetheless. Won a coach of the year, no? We don't need to lie about that. But also nobody's going to want to look back on that because we were so naive. We were so blissfully ignorant to what was on the horizon. That's not a good feeling. The team, like, yeah, they've, won more games in the last month than they had in, like, the last year or, whatever. They still stink. Signing dudes to... Why is Buddy Boeheim still here? Who does Troy Weaver... Is Jim Boeheim in the mob and Troy Weaver is, like, in the weeds with some shit? Why is Buddy Boeheim still here getting a 2-way deal? What the fuck, bro? What's going on? That's the NBA. That's what I saw this week. Let's move on. What else do I got? Oh, Justin Fields unfollowing the Bears on Instagram was weird. And I think, is monitoring a player's like following list on Twitter or Instagram more annoying or less annoying than an NBA player being in an open gym in the middle of July and like working on like a dribble package, or like if it's a big and he's like hitting threes and he'll rattle off like 4 or 5 rounds. Which rhetoric is more annoying? Because I tend to think it's the open gym shit, because I don't know, sometimes you can kind of look at the IG following and it can actually mean something. But if you ask Justin Fields why he unfollowed the Bears, he's like, well, and hey, to his credit, I think this reason was kind of valid. He was like, I was just kind of tired of my entire feed being like Bears related, and all that entails these last few weeks is like Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. He's like, I was just tired of that. Like, I just don't need to see that. That makes sense. That's fair. He's like, I also unfollowed the NFL too. He's like, I'm not leaving the league. You know, if I can, and hey, not a victory lap podcast. I was the one who like 3 months ago was like, go to Atlanta. I don't know how this needs to happen, but like, go to Atlanta. I don't know how. It is on a fundamental level unacceptable that anybody ever thought Desmond Ridder was an NFL quarterback. And the fact that he started more than one game, just to be nice to him, he can start one game like as a treat. Hey, we all need to find out for sure, definitively, right? But more than once is insane. Insane. What else were they going to do? I don't know. Not draft Desmond fucking Ridder? Are you out of your mind? But if you give Justin Fields those weapons, you give him Bijan Robinson, give him Drake London, you give him Kyle Pitts. Finally, Kyle Pitts will have somebody to throw him the ball. Not to be like the fantasy guy. I don't know if there was a word. Like, you could have Bijan Robinson and like Tyler Algier was like okay some weeks. Bijan Robinson kind of, that was weird. What they just kind of stopped using him and then they started using it. It was weird. Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Oh my God. I don't know if there were two more talented guys on the same team in the league who just could not get the ball. And that, you know, from a fantasy perspective, as somebody who was pissed because I was like, I need points, but also as somebody who, I don't know, watching Red Zone, I'm just like, what? You never hear about Drake London. You never hear about Kyle Pitts. So if you give them an actual quarterback, that would be great. Was buying a house. I probably should have led with this. Bought a house yesterday. We did it. Yeah, homeowners. It's amazing. But here's the problem. We're like, so we go down and we do like a final walkthrough, like 9 in the morning. And then at 10, we have to close. And we have to like go to this big fancy high-rise office downtown. And as soon as we get down there, these people running all over the place. I swear, it felt like an episode of Succession. There's so many names and like the stakes were so high. And they're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to do this. This little thing, the lender didn't send us this thing. And the problem was AT&T was down, Verizon was down, T-Mobile was down, everything was down. And I was like, go figure, on the day that we're trying to buy a house, there's like a cyber attack? What's going on? What's going on? But then I was confused because I'm like, well, but it's phone service. If it's not internet, then just use the internet. Have we gotten to the bottom of that one? Yeah, I saw something this morning where like ABC News was like, yeah, nope, nothing nefarious happened here. I mean, okay, so something nefarious might have happened then. Although, no, because in an election year, I feel like if there was really an agenda to be pushed, they would try to make it something else, right? Am I too tinfoil hat there? In an election year, if there was actually like a foreign government to blame, I feel like they probably would have taken the opportunity to do that. Speaking of it being an election year, so congratulations to us, by the way, for buying a house. Thank you. Speaking of it being an election year, this A24 movie, this new Alex Garland movie, Civil War. I've been waiting. When did Men come out? Is that 22? I've been waiting 2 years for this movie to come out. They started shooting it immediately after Men came out. It's been in post-production for like a goddamn year and a half. Finally got the trailer a couple months ago. Liberals hate it. Conservatives don't know how they feel about it. I'm a little disappointed as somebody who loves Alex Garland's movies that, and even if I understand why he did it, that he's releasing a movie like this in an election year, because I'm worried that it's going to become something that it isn't, and it's going to be more polarizing than it needs to be. And we've heard from Alex Garland in the past that this is probably his last movie in the director chair for a while, and I would just hate to see him go out with a whimper. I would hate to see him be subject to a certain level of scrutiny because he made a movie that people, it just didn't resonate with them. Like, I don't think he's going to alienate anybody with this, but again, I don't think I'm going to be able to stomach the polarization or the sort of national rhetoric that might come with a movie like this releasing in 2024. And if I'm A24, I'm also a little bit like, because this is the most money we've ever spent making a movie. The budget was like $50 million. I don't know how it wasn't more than that. It's a huge movie. It looks huge. And there are like actual actors in it. Like, huh? Does Jesse Plemons not command that much money? Just leads me to believe that his role is not that big, by the way. And there's got to be a whole, I could do this spiel 100 times, but I'm so tired of actors that I care about being listed in movies just to find out that they're only in it for like 7 minutes. Jesse Plemons in Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, might as well not be in it. Was waiting the whole damn time for him. Might as well not be in it. Rami Malek and Oppenheimer? Huh? Like, literally was not in it. Until the end. Otherwise, he was just holding a clipboard. And then at the end, he has this grand moment where he's like, I'm Rami Malek. I won Best Actor. Playing Freddie Mercury a couple years ago. Oh, cool. What was the other one that I had? Tilda Swinton in The Killer. The whole movie, I'm like, where's Tilda? Like I love Michael Fassbender. Hey, I'll watch him for 3.5 hours. I don't care. But where's Tilda Swinton? I really need to. So here's the problem that I'm running into. I'm derailing myself immediately. 46 minutes in. I'm getting sick. And I need to clear my throat. And I need to blow my nose so bad. But I can't. But I can't, and I just kind of have to power through it. I don't even have a water or anything nearby. I don't know what to do. We got an email from somebody that I have something in my list that I don't know if I want to bring it up. Tiffany Haddish being like, on my way to Israel. Need to see it with my own eyes. Uh-huh. What do you need to see with your own eyes? You think... Like, hey, we did our 2024 bingo card. Tiffany Haddish being a fucking Mossad agent was not on that bingo card that we did. I did not see this one coming. Bizarre. Got an email, and I was trying to refrain from doing emails. I'm not even going to read it verbatim, but a kid was like, hey, I'm like 19, and I kind of want to do, I think I want to do broadcasting. He's like, should I bet on myself? Huh? Yes. Yeah, of course you should. But he was asking, and I think maybe this is just interesting to add at the end of this, sort of on the tail end that I've been trying to pull off. I feel like Evel Knievel doing a full hour uninterrupted. But he was like, I think the question was like, where do you get influences from? Or like, how do you, how did you sort of cultivate your cadence and all of this stuff? You know what it is? You know why I think there are episodes that I'm really good at this? Some episodes that I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Just to knock myself down. But there are some episodes where I know what I'm doing. I think it's because of how long I've spent as an audience member. Yeah, actually, we're wrapping up, so this is the part where I can get sentimental. I think it's because of how long I've been in the audience. And I know what I want to see. I read a lot of comments on other people's videos. I read all of the comments on Jacob's videos, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets. I read them all. And because of that, the feedback that these different people get, it's in so many ways, it's consistent. It's one thing to go like your whole life listening to people talking to a microphone. I've spoken ad nauseum about the podfather himself, Bill Simmons. I honestly don't know if there's a more influential voice for people my age and even older, that 27 to 34 demo too, in sports. I know that's where I get a lot of my narratively driven personality from. If I needed some X's and O's in my life, I would probably go to Ryan Russillo. Love Ryan. But I know good podcasting. I know good broadcasting the same way I know it when it's bad. Okay? I listen to every single episode of the Adam Friedland Show. I know bad podcasting. I don't care if it's a funny show. It sucks. It's not a good show anymore. They don't care about it. They admit constantly that they don't care about it. When you talk about radio, I've always hated Howard Stern. I've always thought he's a fucking scumbag. I have no interest in him. I've always thought Bill Maher was a dickhead. Anybody who likes Bill Maher, I just question. I'm like, I don't want to be your friend. Because if that is your personality at all, because that is like owned culture. That's like the streamer Hassan. I went through a phase where I loved him because I had never seen anybody on a platform talk the way that he does about the stuff that he talks about and the command of the stream that he has. But when you start getting into this, like, you know, people always talk about the alt-right pipeline. And what does that usually entail? It's like Charlie Kirk owns blue-haired feminist. You know, Ben Shapiro destroys lib at university. Like, good job. You're good at picking on fucking college freshmen. The fuck? You grown-ass man. Hassan just does the same shit. He just uploaded one where it's like Anthony Fantano destroys like conservative cuck or like some bullshit. Like, huh? Like it's the same picture, .jpg. Just because you're saying shit that I agree with doesn't, like, it's the same thing. You know? And that sucks. That sucks so much. I talk all the time about how a lot of the media I consume is like English. Not like English speaking. I mean like UK, like England, right? What's the station, LBC? I listen to James O'Brien constantly because I agree with what he says, but I hate how he delivers it. I hate how he talks to people. There's a guy on CNBC. It's not Jake Tapper. I don't remember his name. He always wears a stupid fucking bow tie and he wears glasses. And for the longest time, I would like watch his show every night. And then once I realized you're literally just Tucker Carlson, but you say shit that I agree with. So I don't really notice it as much. And then as soon as I identified that he's just like a leftist Tucker Carlson, I was like, no, that's not for me. YouTube Shorts have been weird lately, man. Sometimes I do think it's okay to be in an echo chamber for a little bit. Like, there are some things where like I don't need an external opinion on this. I don't want my mind to be changed. Usually it's something harmless enough, but like echo chambers aren't an inherently bad thing. YouTube Shorts have been weird for me lately though. You know, and you're going to, and if I explain why, it's a lot of incel shit, right? And you're going to be like, well, if it barks like a dog, probably is one. Stop. Time out. No. The trap that I always fall into is I will see one video of, you know, Ben Shapiro, some conservative dickhead saying something. And I'll just watch it because I'm curious to know, hey, man, you can't combat certain rhetoric if you don't know what they're actually saying. Sorry. Sometimes you actually have to listen to them. I would say it's the same thing with, like, libs. Like, oh, my God. Sometimes I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. But you got to listen to them. You got to listen to what they're saying, right? But once you do it one time, then the YouTube's algorithm is like, oh, this person is, like, really into this. This is like what they want us. And then the next time I open it, it's just like funk music with like grind set Sigma. Like, oh, you want to get laid? And it's like Andrew Tate talking about like the fucking helicopters that he has and how he does not sex traffic. He does not. Hey, speaking of polarizing figures and allegations of sexual misconduct, can I get a hell yeah to Matt Araiza? I'm sorry, getting a job in the NFL? Shout out to the punt god, Matt Araiza. We can be honest with it. We all read what happened in the trial. This was not a Derrick Rose situation. He actually didn't do it. Wow. Thank God. Thank God this guy's in the NFL. I was crushed. I was like, damn, Matt Araiza, like probably the best punter to ever live, goes to the Bills? Like, that's sick. And then this woman is like, no, you're getting sued because you did something pretty bad when I was 17. And then he gets released and it's like, he's getting dragged. And it's like, damn, I can't believe it's fuck this guy. That's really too bad. Because at the end of the day, this is a Believe Women podcast. It just is. And then it turns out, like, it's truly not one of those instances where it's like, oh, you're really going to trust the legal system? Well, in some way, we have to. In some ways, in some regard, there has to be a little bit of merit. But also, when the lawyers are, like, proving beyond a reasonable doubt, the motherfucker wasn't even there. It wasn't there. Like, he just wasn't there. It has to be the most awkward part of the whole trial was that they obtained a video of, like, 3 men having sex with this girl. They had to play it. Like, ooh. And I'm just confused because, like, and that's how they determined, like, this was consensual. I think that's how it went because they must have showed it in a courtroom and the litigator, defense attorney, whoever, is, like, circling the monitor. As you can see right here, judge and jury, she's smiling. This appears consensual, and then they hit play, and it's, I don't know. But all I know is Matt Araiza wasn't there when it happened. So Matt Araiza gets the punt for the Chiefs. Whoa. So you're telling me, oh, Patrick Mahomes didn't lead the Chiefs on a 75-yard touchdown drive? That's okay. Matt Araiza is just going to pin you down at the 1. Well, pin you down, phrasing. Well, he didn't do it, though. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 episodes of the Coping Hour. This means a lot to me. This means a lot to me as a dude who has always had trouble committing to, like, projects creatively. I very rarely believe in my own ideas. It's very hard for me not to sort of piggyback off of somebody else's idea because I saw that it worked for them or they gave me the validation that it is a good idea. Mainly that's what it comes down to, is how much validation I need. And even though you guys do give me that, people in my life give me that who watch the show, ultimately, if I don't believe in the product, you won't either. I believe in this show a lot. And I care about this show a lot. And I love bullying you guys. And I love that you don't bully me back. It's truly the perfect power dynamic. Like, it's exactly what I want. I didn't forget to do Friday Feels today. I just needed to ISO and do my own thing, by the way. And I can't express, man, from the bottom of my heart, to read your emails every day, sports related or otherwise, to read your comments every day, knowing that for some of you out there, this show means as much to you as it does to me, is something that I do not take for granted. And I really mean that. That I fucking love you guys, dude. This is as much your show as it is mine. Right? That's why I started doing recently, like, oh, you emailed into the show? Welcome to the show. Thank you for contributing today. Right? Like, this is a collective forum. No, you're not always going to get on. But I'm going into every show with every single email in mind that had been sent, between now and the last episode. And I'm excited to keep going. I don't know how it gets better from here. Oh, man. I waited until an hour in for my throat to be like, it's time. It's time. I might be getting strep. When I was a kid, dude, I would get strep like 3 times a year. Like, it was constantly, I couldn't avoid it. So there's a chance that Monday's episode doesn't happen. And maybe it just gets pushed to Tuesday, because it's the last 2 days, it's a little bit more. It has not felt good. Hopefully it's not COVID. Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, got COVID. And someone in his comments was like, you can still get COVID. Dog, I had to, Jacob, I didn't tell you about this because I didn't want to upset you. I had to delete a comment on his channel the other day because it was too much. Like, I'll let people say crazy stuff, but on here at least. But even for his channel, I was like, I need to sort of swoop in here. Because they basically took like a reverse RFK stance. on COVID. And they were like, how do you have COVID? Like, you're not Chinese or Jewish. I was like, we can. I was like, huh? I had to delete that. That's just fucking insane. What? I don't want that to be a representation. I mean, hey, if that's his audience, that's his audience. I don't want to infringe upon that. But I was just like, this doesn't feel nice. This doesn't feel like a nice thing to say. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to leave 5 stars. I hope this worked. God, I hope this worked. I have no idea. Because usually how it works is I'll do the first 10, 15, however long each segment takes. And between each segment, I can tell how it's going. Right? And sometimes that's how I pick the emails. Is if it's kind of like the show isn't that good, I'll pick the really heavy, the hard-hitting emails. Right? If it's a good show, there are variables. I don't know how this has gone. Was this it was either the best or the worst. But I did the fucking thing. I did an hour. I didn't cut once. I did the whole thing. All of it. By myself. I've never done this before. And it's kind of just hitting me. This is sick. This was awesome. I'm proud of myself. If you're listening to this on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, sure to leave a like. Be sure to subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Hit like an emotive silencer. You know what I mean? I don't know how you would do that in the comments, but like, if you can make a stick figure hit the silence, I don't know how you would do it. But that's literally gonna be me the second I will catch you guys.
Computers now
In the
have
next
primary control. Beautiful, beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control.